let's say. And here I will tell you a little bit why I'm very proud of working in the fisheries industry, not in the industry, sorry, in the fisheries administration, in the fisheries management. I myself am a veterinarian. I started working actually with the food and the livestock, because I'm a veterinarian working in Spain. I'm Spanish, in the countryside in Spain, providing secure food, taking care of animal welfare. And then I have been always linked to the primary industry. I feel my heart is in the primary industry. So I'm very happy with my professional development. I joined the Spanish administration prior to joining the Commission. I have been working in the fisheries for 15 years. I started with the international organization, mostly the tuna are famous. Then I also work a couple, 4 or 5 years in the European strategy for the data collection. And then I moved to the Commission, where I will tell you later what is exactly my field of expertise, let's say. This, I guess that by now you're perfectly aware of what is the Green Deal, even what is the Farm to Fork strategy, which, well, making food system fair, healthy, and environmentally. These are just a bits of information on the importance of farmed seafood and why are we actually implementing this strategy. You can see here, I don't like very much just literally reading the slide, so I will move to the next one because I want to, sorry. Okay, I don't know which one are you seeing.
What they see is what is on the screen. Yeah, exactly. So for you to tell them next one. Yeah.
Sorry, I'm sorry because I thought you, sorry, please excuse me.
Yeah, no problem.
Next one, please. And next one. Okay, there we are. So these are one of the relevant targets and actions in the Farm to Fork strategy, this press. This is the aquaculture, and this is the fisheries. And this is what I will try to give you a little bit of, to expand a little bit the information on the step-up implementation of Common Fisheries Policy and the revision of the EU fisheries control system. Next, please. So you can see here the second most, or one of the most important deliverables as well is the EU Biodiversity Strategy for 2030, bringing nature back to our lives. You will see here, I underline in green, I hope you can see it, it's not too light color for you. You will see later in my presentation why I'm underlining this on green. This action plan to conserve fisheries resources and protect marine ecosystem, because that is actually what the CFP will be doing, will be contributing. Next, please. A little bit of history, but just very, very brief. The CFP, Common Fisheries Policy, started as part of the Common Agricultural Policy. You know probably which were these the objectives of these common policies. Well, increase their productivity, stabilize markets, provide a source of healthy food, which is still one of the objectives, of course, and also, of course, reasonable prices for consumers. This was many years ago, so the CFP has evolved, same as the rest of the policy, the EU policies, and now we are in this new CFP with these three pillars: environmental, economic, and social. Next one, please. These are the objectives of the 2013 CFP. The regulation, I didn't put the regulation, by the way, I'm noticing now the exact title and the link to the official journal. But this, the objective, it's threefolded. We have to be sustainable, and there is the link on how we can contribute to all these objectives, these general objectives of the Farm to Fork and the Biodiversity Strategy. But the sustainability has to come in the three different pillars: environmentally, meaning biological, getting or rebuilding the stocks and providing stock that can provide well, I will tell later. Sustainable yield, but also economically and socially sustainable, because as I said in the beginning, there are populations very much depending on the fishing activities. It's not only in terms of employment, which of course, but also because it's very much linked to the common, let's say, common acquis of the EU population. Next one, please. So this is what I'm seeing in the basic regulation. This is directly inserted this press in the treaty, in the EU treaty. And these are the main pillars that, thank you. So these are the main pillars. Well, this is basically the work that is done on a daily basis by the whole DG MARE. So please allow me, or please accept my apology if I don't go through all of them, because we'll be here until next week, probably. I will focus my attention in the first one, the fisheries management and control, and in the international fisheries policy. Of course, the markets and trade are very important, and well, no need to say the funding because of the novelties of this policy entails. But this is where I will be focusing my attention. Next, please. Well, I will start on achieving the maximum sustainable yield. Next, please. I don't know if you are aware of what is this concept and what we want to achieve. I think the name explains self-explanatory. We want to have a fish stock population that can be sustainable, that can render us that cannot compromise, let's say, the future industry or the future, yes, the healthy stock statement. So you have this curve here. Well, I don't think this deserves more attention. We have to reach a point in which this objective, this target is achieved. Initially, in the omnibus regulation, as we say, in the CFP regulation, there was a deadline by 2020. We'll tell you a little bit later how are we doing and the role that other important tools are playing achieving this. Next one, please. Yeah, next. So what tools do we have to be sustainable, to help our industry be sustainable? These are the main. And again, this is linked with one of my first slides. I'm underlining this in green. It's not because this is my specific field of expertise, which is it. It is also because it's very much linked on how the deliverables of the biodiversity strategy. But we have the multi-annual plans, of course, the fishing opportunities, which we'll see later, that are now less EU, let's say, because now after the departure of the UK has a very different dimension. Fishing capacity and others, and in these others we can include the rest of the things that unfortunately I won't be able to touch today. For example, the data collection, please, next one. This I consider very important. This is also part of my expertise, my background. I told you I've been working 4 or 5 good years working in the data collection. And I think it's very important because this is one of the bases of the pillars to going on and to move a step up with any policy decision, any new management measure. They need to be based on the best available science. Here we have the ICES logo and in the SPC, I don't know if you can see it, perhaps it's really small, the Scientific, Technical and Economic Committee for the Fisheries. They are not the only ones, of course. The EU is provided with scientific advice from some other different bodies, and as we will see later, even for the fishing opportunities. So you can see there are, as you will see, there are scientific bodies in the international organization that also provides us with the advice. Next one, please. So the landing obligation. The landing obligation, this is just a funny, beautiful fish that I take my colleagues from the Spanish Scientific Institute took. This is a relative of Peus Paver. Next one, please. The landing obligation is again one of the novelties that this policy, the CFP, introduced. Probably you know even better than me what this entails. This is very important also for the industry. According to our legislation, you, in general, we will see a little bit, cannot discard, you cannot throw fishes that you consider are not relevant for you, for your catch. This works for all the stocks subject to catch limits in the Atlantic or minimum sizes in the Mediterranean, shall abide union waters or union vessels. We have the several tools to help us in the actual implementation or design of this policy. The multi-annual plans is one of them. Discard plan when there is no multi-annual plan, but we will see later the multi-annual plans, these maps. However, this is subject to certain exemptions that can be used for example, the minimis, when it's impossible to decrease the, to increase the selectivity, well, there are certain limits that we say, well, okay. Also, it works for the prohibited species, those that cannot be caught, well, cannot. So also high survivability, those are species that are likely to survive after the catch and release, of course, and fish damaged by predators. Next one, please. So, well, I think I said this before. To stop wasting the fish, to make fisheries more sustainable, to provide with more accurate data to fit in the stock assessment models. There are, but these are the most important reasons. What I already told you, those species subject to catch limits or sizes, and how. First of all, I already said that these are based now in the multi-annual plans or distal plans. But the introduction was gradual. You know, this started in 2015, and last year, no, not last year, we are 2021. Sorry, this is one of the effects of the COVID, the pandemic, that I don't even anymore for how long we've been. So in 2019, it was the final step, let's say like that, or like this. Let me put it like this. Next one, please. The landing obligation is still a challenge. We still have to deal with a number of issues, as you can see here. We already have certain solutions, but the most important is, I think, in my perspective, is to work jointly with the industry. We are very well aware of the problems that this has been meaning for the industry all this time. It's very difficult, and depending, and also we have to acknowledge that it's not the same one fisheries to another. Mixed fisheries, it's very, very difficult. It's extremely difficult. This is why we invest in science and in the collaboration with the industries. You can see there, well, choke situation, and again, this is also linked to the mixed fisheries. There are, we understand that there is proportionate the cost of landing or storing in vessels on board while they are operating. They have also costs to disembark. We know, and these are some of the solutions. We have to say that the introduction of the landing obligation meant as well an important commitment by the industry, not even to comply, because of course it's part of the acquis, part of the legislation, but also to invest in research and innovation, trying to be more selective, because being more selective will also help achieving the maximum sustainable yield, will avoid this situation, and at the end of the day, we will have more sustainable fisheries. That, and according to the last figures that I will give you at the end of my presentation, seems to be working. Towards the sustainability seems to be working. The profitability of the fleet in general is improving. So next one, please. A map. A map, it's not a map. This is the treasure map. Treasure map. Maps are the multi-annual plans. Next one, please. Okay.
Refuses.
Yes. So well, you have to forgive me. I like to include several pictures because this is okay. To be too much, perhaps. Okay, well, yeah. So multi-annual plans are designed. It's a legislative tool, but also a procedural-wise tool to achieve the maximum sustainable yield. It's, as I said, it's a stepwise approach to fisheries management. It allows to reflect the regional specificities. I will touch this later as well, because this is actually very important and one of the pillars as well of the CFP. We have in this map that you see there, down, sorry, at the bottom of these slides, quantifiable targets for those stocks. Multi-annual plans are of course designed at stock levels. We have quantifiable targets. These targets, the FMSY, as it was in one of the previous slides, is the fishing mortality to achieve the maximum sustainable yield, and there are ranges. This basically this multi-annual and safeguards. Of course, these multi-annual plans set series of targets and series of safeguards. For example, if you want to achieve the maximum sustainable yield, these are the ranges that needs to be not consulted, but the advice needs to be provided by ICES or similar. I don't know what's the wording of the regulation, scientific advisory body. So we have in the Baltic Sea, North Sea, the Western waters, the Mersal, and the Western Mediterranean. We think that this is a very important tool to, I'm not going further into this because it's a lot of details, but if someone is interested, we can even, I guess we have internet here. I can show you a little bit how this works, because it is not easy. It is not easy. We have ranges, we have the lowest and the upper, and well, there are, you know, at the end of the day, it's a matter of negotiation, because of course the lowest will give you the lowest possibility catches, but still, next one, the fishing opportunities, and another nice picture of some. Sorry, I don't know the name in English. It's only in Spanish.
I think it is Corfano.
Yeah.
Correct, yeah.
That's right. Right.
But in Italian.
No, but it's similar, because I think it's similar to the scientific name.
Okay.
Sorry, sorry, but sometimes, again, this is one of the effects of the news setting, this virtual. Yeah. It's not that I forget that I am addressing to you. Please excuse me. So next one, please. Fishing opportunities. This is now at this part of the year, this fantastic part of the year. This is one of the most important tasks that we have now in mind. It's basically fishing the total admissible catches, the tax, consistent with the MSY objectives, based on relative stability. This year, the proposal is not there yet. I think the Baltic one, we'll see as well later in one of the slides. But basically, we set the tag according to what is been advised. Well, said Commission proposes. Then the member states decide on the allocation. You know that every member state has a right to on how to allocate which fleet segments based on historical rights and whatever. And there's also the possibility. These are just a couple of bits because if you read the huge tackle quota regulation, the fishing opportunities regulation, it has a lot of some other provisions. For example, prohibited species, zero tag fishes. But again, I don't know to. Yes, next one, please. But again, I wasn't sure to what extent you want to be bored by me with all the details of this regulation. Still, this is what we are doing now. The Northeast Atlantic will be, well, of course, it's not secret rule, in line with the MSY, will be remedial measures under MAP. We'll touch later some technical measures. And to rebuild the target stock. Important to say that now large majority of the stocks are now shared. So it means that it will be negotiated. Please, next one. I think this is a deadline that I was mentioning. This the initial proposal based on the science will be next month. Are we in September? Yes, September next month.
Yeah, September.
And then, as you know, during all this time, the consultation, the negotiation, and sitting with our neighbors, Norway and the UK, have in place right now. So if you are going to ask me, I'm sorry, I cannot provide you with any information on this. We still don't know. This is a little bit what is the fishing opportunities. And next one, please. Now, fishing capacity, another of the pillars of the CFP. Fishing capacity is also very important. We try to align the next one. Yes, thank you. This is based in this article of the basic regulation. Basically, this policy follows the scheme on having a capacity that it's adapted and it's according suitable to the resources. The resources, because not achieving this stability will mean, well, of course, the detriment of the resource, but also the bigger impact in the environment. So there you have some of the most important elements that are set. For example, if you want to remove, you want to introduce a vessel, you have to remove, and the capacity cannot be increased, of course. This vessel should be more efficient, more environmentally friendly, if I may. And if the withdrawal is with public aid, its capacity cannot be replaced. What I said. And then, well, this is, I think it's a general provision. Member states need to report annually to the Commission on this. Next one, please. Something else, just in case you are curious, these are some links on the reports and that we received on the balance situation of the fleets in the different member states. And on the fleet register, that it's then there are, of course, not all data, because some of them are subject to confidentiality rules, but there's some information that you might be interested. And next one, I think now we move. This is the technical measures. This picture represents the south of Spain in Cádiz, not 500 years ago. This is the traditional bluefin tuna catching and processing that I also been working many years ago in the recovery plan of bluefin tuna. And I thought it was nice to introduce to my little bit of expertise. Next one, please. This is what I do on a daily basis. These are the technical measures. Technical measures are defined as well in the Omnibus regulation, and basically it tells you where, how, and what to fish. You see it left, both the top. You can see several networks, I think, and cannot see them. Well, we have in this regulation the minimum conservation sizes for the commercial species that are caught in waters. So this is an important technical measure, setting the size of the coat. You see an example of a knotted mesh, diamond mesh, in the middle, top middle. It's very important, the design of the gear, to achieve to be more sustainable and to precisely to be to catch the species according to a size selectivity and species selectivity. So the design of the gears is of course very important. The smaller the mesh, the less selective. In general, of course, you cannot capture, you cannot harvest squid with the same mesh as you do if you were targeting hake, of course. Top right, you see a basic design of a troll. This is a troll gear. I'm not going to explain you, do not worry, it's too technical. Right below it, you can see one of the selectivity devices to help escape unwanted catches. This is also part of the technical measures. We, as you know, it's mandatory in most of the fisheries that the gear is designed according to, or should include, devices to allow non-desired catches or smaller catches escape. So this is another example of what this regulation is doing. Left bottom, you can see also, this is an example, and you can also go into this link. This is a Yuma Atlas of the sea, and there are many layers. This one is just showing you some not closed, but some protected areas according to different pieces of legislation, not only the technical measures. In the technical measures regulation, there are several areas that are closed to fish because of the importance, because of the special protection and the vulnerability of the seafloor, for example. This is obviously, this is complementing with other regional pieces of legislation. And last, this is my workstation. I wanted to show you, I took this picture a couple of days ago. You can see actually that in the design is not this included yet. I put this here because this regulation also deals with the mitigation or additional design of the gear that the gear should have to avoid the catch of the sensitive species. So far, we have a regulation that has been, it's directly linked to this one with the acoustic deterrent devices to avoid or minimize the catches, the unwanted catches of stations, dolphins. But this regulation sets an avenue for the member states, the industry, all stakeholders involved that we will see later, to first of all to provide us with data on the actual status of these species, and secondly we give the opportunity them to design or to come up with innovative solution. Innovative is also a basic pillar. Next one, please, of this regulation. It is very important because, as you saw from all that I told you, innovation is it's a pillar to achieve this. You have to provide with and also the public administration with a very imaginative alternative solution to most of the problems. And now I'm linking with the landing obligation, for example, different mesh sizes, different material, different selectivity devices, or different mitigation measures, storylines to avoid severe bycatch. So this regulation entered into force in 2019, sorry. The objectives are more or less the same that I have been telling you all this during my presentation. Are aligned, of course, with the CFP. We have to be sustainable. We have to minimize the unwanted effects of the fishing activity. And it was the previous slide is what I'm telling you. It's a huge amount of work, but still we think it's a simplification. Before this, we had 80 something different pieces of legislation in the EU in all the sea basins. This regulation, by the way, it's global. Global. It's horizontal in terms of regional approach. It covers Baltic, Western waters, North Sea, Mediterranean, and even some Indian Ocean and Western Atlantic territories for some of the provisions. Most important, the regionalization that I will speak right way, and also you can see that again I'm underlining on green this, and it's linked with the two previous green underlines that I wanted to draw your attention to. This is linked to the biodiversity strategy, and we will see why. Other of the novelties of this regulation is that we need to report. We need to check the progress in all of the fields that I've been telling you, in how is the progress on being more selective or protecting the seabirds or turtles or whatever, the sensitive species. First report was to be produced by the end of last year. Unfortunately, and as I mentioned, everything, the scientific input was basic. We had two most important scientific inputs: ICES advice on innovative gear. I don't know if you are familiar with ICES. I already mentioned that it was one of the most important science providers for the EU, and also the STCF, the Scientific Technical Committee. Because of COVID, this couldn't be achieved because, well, you know, we couldn't meet in person, and so this first report will be adopted very soon. Very soon, like very soon. I cannot advance you when, but very soon. And next one, please. The governance, and I guess this is of the utmost importance for the industry. CFP, and after CFP, all the regulations that have been published to help achieving the objectives, of course, the technical measures too, have a very important pillar, which is the governance. Again, this is an example of the Yuma Atlas of the sea that you can, these layers, if I am not wrong, displays the regional advisory councils. We will see, please, next one. What is the regionalization? One of the biggest criticisms, and I think we can all understand why, is that everything was designed in Brussels, and why do you know, or how are you supposed to know what's happening, I don't know, in a very small fishing town in the south of Italy or in the Baltic? Well, it's right. You're right. People was right. Okay, so we moved away from the Brussels-based this micromanagement towards a more regionalized approach. All these examples that I have been discussing with you first, the maps, the multi-annual plans, the SCAT plans, the fish stock recovery areas, and any other conservation measures, for example, this technical, now will be designed by with the participation of all the stakeholders, industry, but also NGOs or civil society. How? By means of joint recommendations that are submitted by the member states with a direct management, of course, in the area or in the region. We'll see that advisory councils, next one, please, that needs to be consulted. It are not only regional, because they are the Market Advisory Council, or the long distance one, which is long distance, long. But in general, the rest of them are, of course, well, we have three for the Mediterraneans, we have the Baltic, the southwestern waters, northwestern waters, North Sea, and I don't want to leave anyone, so I will stop here. So the role of the Advisory Council, as you see, is well, helping us identifying the needs, also propose solutions, submit the recommendation, recommendations to the Commission and to the member states. It's mandatory to consult them, so this is a basic step that the member states, when design a joint recommendation, needs to follow. This is important. This is the composition of the Advisory Council: 60% of processing, marketing, fishermen, but also 40% of other interest groups. Next one, please. I'm taking a little bit of time here because I think this is very, very interesting and very important, because this actually means the participation of the interested industry and in the interested groups on the actual design of the policies. They are linked to the Article 18 of this regulation, and this is basically, excuse me, the production of the preparation of a joint recommendation. What is a joint recommendation? A joint recommendation, basically it says several provisions that member states and the rest of the stakeholders identify as necessary, something that needs to be changed, stay in the legislation, amended, or whatever. If the basic regulation allows so, there are certain elements that can be touched with these procedures. Member states prepare this joint recommendation, of course, with the grounds of the proof, the scientific assessment, even economic. For example, if you want to submit a joint recommendation to help you with the landing obligation, it's also pertinent not only to include environmental or biological information, to also social, economic, etc. These are assessed by the SDCF. This is also mandatory in general to send this joint recommendation to be assessed by our scientific body. If there's positive assessment, Commission will publish a delegated act. There we have the legislation, we have a modification. I will talk to you on some examples. If it's negative, we will continue the dialogue, because negative, I have said, it's very poor. It doesn't mean that it's not important or it's not coherent with the policy. Is that, for example, you prepare a joint recommendation saying, I think that this conservation size of, I don't know, nephrops in the non-western waters needs to be changed. Instead of this, shall be this. Negative assessment means that perhaps the SPCF do not consider that they do not consider enough information to give you a scientific sounded, not that the proposal per se is negative. So then we have this dialogue with the member states and to align or to provide with more scientific data, scientific survey, whatever. And then the publication will enter into force, of course, Parliament and the Council, but I think that you already have some lectures on the procedures and this, so I'm not going to discuss this further. And this is the regionalization. Next one. Another one, please, press, yes. Control, fisheries control system. This is also an important pillar on the CFP, well, for obvious reasons, to have the enforcement and to check somehow how this is working is actually one of the pillars. We have these four different pieces of, well, FCA is not a regulation per se, it's an organism, it's the European Fisheries Control Agency. But the fisheries control is a regulation, the IUU, the standards of the EU, the SMEF, Sustainable Management for the External Fishing Fleet, the fleet normally, in normal conditions. So I would say that 99% of the time do not operate in the EU water because they are long distance. Well, in some territories of France, maybe yes. So I will just stop here. Well, of course, I don't know if you can see it because it's small characters. This is, of course, complemented with the different control possible measures that the regional organization, in which the EU is a contracting party, or even the third country in the framework of an agreement, may impose. Next one. We are getting there to the end of this presentation. The internal dimensions, of course, it's very important for the EU. For the EU as a global interpreter of what is happening there. As I mentioned right before, the EU fleet is operating in different, I would say, in most, if not all, the different oceans in the world, from the Antarctic to the North Sea or Indian Ocean, in the Pacific, with very different fishing years and subject to very different conditions. So basically the international dimension can be divided in the ocean governance, participating in the discussion in the United Nations, regional fisheries management organization that I told you it was part of my experience previously. Mostly tunas, but not only. Of course, we have a very important one, NAFO, NEAFC, with our common interest, with our common neighbors, and the Sustainable Fisheries Partnership Agreements, the agreements, and I think I have another one. Yes, can we move? And of course, I agree, not this one. These are basically the objectives, or how the EU tries to be part of the international stage. I was mentioning the Sustainable Fisheries Partnership Agreements. EU has different agreements. For example, the exchange. Some of them are based in the mutual exchange of possibility. Norway. I don't know. I don't want to say UK. I still don't know. And then there are some other, the tuna, Arcomos, or mixed agreements. Mixed means that you can catch a variety of fishes, demersal, pelagic. And yes, and I wanted to mention that it was included, the sustainable, because one of the important elements or provision of these agreements is to help our counterpart with sustainability. There are several provisions that grant it, for example, that the EU will only fish surplus of the stock. And well, and trade agreement and measures that, of course, as any other product subject to trade, we have to have. Next one, please. And this is the last part of my intervention here, how the CFP is in compliance, or will help achieve compliance with the EU. Again, this is a picture I took myself in the Mediterranean. No, this was, yes, well, Mediterranean. And how? Well, next one, please. After all this lecture, what I have been trying is to explain you how the CFP has changed in its very initial design and now what we want to achieve, this sustainability that we want to achieve. But still, I will go a little bit further. This is a treaty obligation. We have to somehow integrate all the environmental provisions in the design of the rest of the policies. And of course, the fisheries is one of them. Next one, please. CFP can also be considered as part of the environmental policy. Because of all this reason, we already been discussing the MSY target, the landing obligation of the fisheries recovery areas, those areas with some restriction or totally closed to fisheries that may or may not be Natura 2000. We have in the regulation that I am, that is my work on a daily basis, we have measures to help even the stakeholder on a better protection for the sensitive species and habitats, the design of new gear, more protective gears. We have emergency measures and the AMFF support, the financing, the funding support. Next one, please. And again, this is linked with the bits of sentences that I have been underlining in green during all my presentation. So one of the other deliverables that I mentioned at the beginning, the action plan to conserve fisheries resources and protect marine ecosystem. I'm sorry, I have to read every time, I still don't know yet by heart. So what fisheries can do to minimize its impact and achieve sustainability? What is the starting point? Every fishing, so far we can consider that every little activity that we go, since the moment you take the boat and you go to fish, can have an impact, and therefore it's acceptable to be improved from a sustainable point of view. So we consider and I mentioned also, I underlined in green, the reporting obligation of this regulation that I'm very familiar with, is the reporting obligation. This regulation is very brand new, so I mean, it's not that from one year to another we are expecting that everything's going to change, everything's going perfect. Of course not. But we will be reporting every 3 years to show if there's been any progress. So far, under the fishing opportunities or under the direct obligation of the CFP that we will see in a minute, there are already some reporting obligations. For example, can you please tell me if you are achieving the maximum sustainable yield? But there are some other in which it's a little bit more difficult. For example, are you really being more sustainable? Are you avoiding unwanted catches? Are you including in your activity mitigation measures? Or are you helping with the scientists, because it's basic, the help of the industry to feed up with the best reliable data? So these are some concrete recommendations, will be based on selectivity and by catch, and by means of different fishery management measures. And these other two on the MSD, sorry, because I'm realizing that I've been including too many acronyms. I'm sorry, it's my defect. The CFP is full of acronyms and sometimes I forget. It's very easy, instead of Marine Strategy Framework Directive, seabed threshold values, and we will explore also how to limit damaging the environment in general, of course, the seabed. Next one, please. This is a fantastic one with acronym. Sorry, I will give you.
The first one is Common Fishery Policy.
Yes, yes, indeed. But the second is the Bird Habitats Directive and the Marine Strategy Framework Directive. As I said, the environmental provision needs to be interlinked, and then every policy needs to be designed taking into consideration this environmental, the new environmental concern and the sustainability. So, well, this is a little bit what I have been doing and how we will implement and enforce, and it's very important, the availability and the quality of knowledge, and of course the funding. Last, sorry, next. So how are we doing? How is our fleet in general? Next one, please. In general, we are doing quite okay in the Northeast Atlantic. This is, if you are more curious, every year the Commission provides with the annual communication. I think it's in, when do we release it? Before summer, I think. So you will have way more information on each of the stocks. But in general, I wanted to show you this. The graph there, it shows the decrease of how the fishing mortality is affected. So this means it's okay. Of course, not all these stocks are perfectly fine. Of course, there's still work to do. Reasons are very variable, but still, we think that we are going in the good way, which is also, we will see translated also in a better performance of the fleet. So, but again, now we will have to negotiate most of these stocks with the third countries, but well, of course, the standard is the same. It will be the same. We are all following the same scientific advice. And this is why you will see that perhaps when this the Commission publishes the proposal for fishing opportunities, most of the stocks will have no tag yet because they will have to be negotiated. Next one, please. However, in the Med, unfortunately, because I love the Med, I am Med, the situation is not the same. There have been improvement, but still, when the situation is in a bad place, the slight improvement is not enough. Of course, you can see the ratio. It's bigger than 2. That's enough. So we are working very hard. I mentioned you the multi-annual plan. By the way, I don't know. Sorry if I didn't mention, but there are fishing opportunities. There are 3 different regulations. One for the Baltic, the huge one, the Atlantic, and then the Mediterranean, based in effort in not in catch, sorry, in quotas. We know there's still a lot of work to do. We are also observing changes in mentality, in the commitment, because the situation is really bad. I mean, we cannot say otherwise. But the fact that we are seeing improvement, it's actually quite encouraging. So we'll see how progress. By the way, the deadline set in the map is 2025. We still have 4 years to see more improvements. Next one, please. Well, this is just a sentence. This link with the capacity. Fleet capacity continued to decrease. Again, this is a personal comment. It's not because it has to decrease. It has to be aligned with the real possibilities and what the seas can support in terms of fishing pressure. Next one, please. But still, we can see, I give you some figures that I think needs to be refined on how COVID-19 has affected. It has affected overall, so of course, the fishing industry. But still, we can see that the fleet is in general is doing quite okay. Well, quite okay. There are profit margins. Of course, there are differences across fleet categories and fishing regions. You probably are aware, Mediterranean situation is not the same. Most, I would say 80% of the fleet is kind of artisanal, very small, therefore very difficult for them to adapt to huge sudden change. It's not the same that some fleets, more industrialized vessels, Of course, there are differences, and of course, in the framework of this policy and the fleet capacity that I told you, we are working, identifying the challenges and helping in this field, of course. And I think that with this, can you please move to the next? Yes. So where is our CFP going? The regulation that I mentioned you entering into force in 2014. So, and in this regulation, it's a legal obligation to report on the function. So we don't think it's time to reform, not a revision, not an evaluation. We are going to check how it's functioning. Because even before the farm to fork strategy, even before this new biodiversity strategy, the CFP already had this obligation of including the environmental policies in its design. So we will review. We will not review. We will report on the functioning. And linked to what I said, let's talk in 3 years when we will be publishing this next report in technical measures. And let's see how are we doing, and let's see to what extent the commitment of all stakeholders. Just to give you some bits, we've received in the last years in this regulation entered into force to one ally, I think 25 joint recommendations. This means that both industry, member states, NGOs, all the stakeholders that I told you about have been working in the different sea basins, Mediterranean, Baltic, have been working together to participate in the design of the new policy. Let's see in 3 years. I don't know if I will be here telling you, or not you, but the following generations of the students, how are we doing? And yes, I think I finished. I'm very sorry because I think I took way too much time that I was allotted to. Thank you very much. I have one last comment. Please do not consider my lecture finished today. If you ask me something that I am not capable of replying, I will take good notes and I will come back to you, or Massimo, to send you my replies. Thank you very much. I'm in your hands. I hope this has been clear enough. I'm not being too nervous, too fast, or too...
It was okay. I would like to ask Eva now to manage the dialogue. Eva Folk, I forgot to introduce you to her. Sorry, Eva, for this. Is the responsible for the course and the professor, which is behind the teaching to our students. So Eva, please.
Thank you very much for your nice presentation. And it was valuable and a lot of relevant information for us. And the master students here, many of them have theses on from fisheries and aquaculture. So this is a very relevant topic. And also for showing us your workplace. Very interesting. So I have, can you hear me?
Yes, we hear you.
Yes.
Somehow going and
Yes.
up and down in terms of volume.
Okay.
So, but we can try. I mean, we are understanding what you're saying.
Yes.
Maybe we can try to raise up the volume of the room as well. Just 1 second.
Okay. Maybe I have to move the microphone here when the students, they have some questions for you. And I look in the room here. I think you have covered so much as well. I think I have read the questions because students have also prepared some questions beforehand to prepare for this meeting. And yeah, difficult to hear me. Okay, then we go to the questions, I think. So maybe
when you move, yes, when you move, the sound is better, I think.
Which is funny. Where is the microphone, Eva? Is it near the computer?
I think it should be.
The microphone is the one of the computer, or?
When is it better? Here or here?
Okay. Try now.
Yes. Can you hear me now?
Yeah, we
Yes,
hear you.
yes,
Yeah.
please, go.
Go. Go, Eva. Go, Eva.
Then I think I give the word to the students to ask questions, and I hope that I can try to move the microphone. So we hope that works. Yeah. Any questions? Yeah. Good idea.
I have a question.
Okay, we tested a little bit here. Kanskje kan du prøve å spørre spørsmålet derfra?
So if you can hear me, I'm wondering, what is your view on the current sustainability labels on seafood? For example, the Marine Stewardship Council certification. Is the EU collaborating with or developing this type of labeling?
Sorry, I didn't get it very. I mean, it's not the volume. I think I'm getting it with some kind of extra noises or echo.
Yeah, because there is some disturbance in the speech. I don't know if she can come more near to the computer, which is supposed to broadcast, because I suspect she's a bit far.
Maybe how can we secure that fish and vegetable materials are not thrown overboard during commercial fishing? That's the question.
Yeah,
Yes.
okay. So we read your question, Astrid. How can we secure that fish and the rest of raw materials are not thrown overboard during commercial fishing?
Well, that's a good question. That is really, well, first of all, and this is a personal take of mine. Well, you may have different provisions, do not this, do not that, but all comes with the general commitment, and of course the possible control mechanism that you can apply. For example, is the discarded fish. I guess that your question is when you put here, we can secure that fish. That how can we be sure that the fish is not discarded and it's not thrown? It's very difficult. It is very difficult actually. Because at the end of the day, well, just to give you some data, EU fleet, excuse me, it's more than 1,000 vessels, very different, very, very different. In some cases, you cannot even put an observer on board because they are very small. So the activities, well, so I guess it relies on the commitment by everybody. Yeah, the digital transformation.
Yeah.
Actually, yes, I can read it. Thank you very much. It's actually very helpful. No, actually, in yesterday's speech by President von der Leyen, it was mentioned the digital transformation and how the new technologies can help us. Precisely, we are exploring, and also I have to say that the industry is very committed in this example on the implementing new measures on board on CCTVs. Measures and to, for example, to check how many sensitive species are caught or released, or even the size of the species. So that's very important. And yes, it's the second question is the EU collaborating or developing this type of labeling. I do not have that information. I would say yes, but please do not take this as because I will ask my colleagues. This part of the EU policy is one of the directorates. Perhaps I should have told you this. We are 4 directorates in DG MARE working with, for example, one of these experts on the labeling and the Marine Stewardship Council. So I will take note of these questions, and if you wish, I will come back to you, because this is not part of my expertise.
What is your view on the current sustainability labels on seafood?
Yes,
for
that's
example,
what
the Marine Stewardship Council
yes,
certification.
That's
Yeah,
that's what I said. I will.
You want us to copy it, or do you want to invite the
we can copy and paste and send them to you by email. No
Okay,
problem.
good.
Yeah.
Good, thank you. That will be.
We will make the service. No problem. So we are copying and pasting the questions for Maria to answer afterwards.
Yeah, very good. Very good. So, but then I think maybe we should finish this session now, and because it's a new, we need a little break here. Is that yeah? And when do we start again? Massimo, then we start again.
We are foreseen to start again at 9:30, so you have 10 minutes break.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
And I noticed that Magdalena is already connected, so we are going to make a bit of testing with her meanwhile you are taking a break.
Yeah, okay. And thank you very much, Maria. Thank you very much.
You're very welcome.
Very good. Thank you also from my side.
Thank you.
And applause for you.
There
There is an applause for you.
No.
You open the mic.
Okay, Massimo, are you talking to me? Because it cracked.
Hello, Magdalena. Hello, nice to meet you.
Hey, hey, do you hear me?
Let me enter on the cam so to have also a sort of real interaction or similar to it. Okay, can you speak a while just to check if the problem of the audio is on our side or on Eva's side, and we can try to solve it?
Yes, okay, so yeah, good morning, everybody. I will speak about research and innovation for the food sector.
Okay, so it seems to work correctly on our side. So probably I suspect is an issue that they have locally, because here we have the audio which goes up and down when Eva speaks.
Yeah, Massimo, we have, so I need to try to change something here. So I go up.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Can we try my video sharing, please? Ah, yes.
Yes, please. Now we allow you to share the video, so we upgrade you as co-hosts. Just give us 1 second.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, now you should be able to do whatever you want, even closing the session.
Okay, I share this. Yes.
Yeah, okay.
And then I want to make sure I can share the video, the sound. Tick, tick, tick.
Yeah.
Share sound. Okay. And now
This is
I
perfect. We see
microorganisms on our planet than stars in the universe.
Did you hear that?
Yeah, we hear it and we see the video.
Okay, perfect.
It works perfectly.
Okay.
You are quite
Okay.
a pro in the use of Zoom, huh?
Zoom not so much, but other ones, yes.
I noticed that you had less issues than someone that preceded you. You arrived directly to the full view and you watch everything, so that's perfect.
So you're not going to share anything, right? Yeah.
No, she's going to take care on her side.
Yeah,
without
I
any
hope
problem.
it's gonna work. I even changed the room to have better internet actually, so I hope it's gonna work.
Okay.
Yeah, that's
Because
perfect.
I just saw your email.
Sorry?
I just
So
saw
you
your
have-
email, yeah.
You have even set up a Slido. Wow.
Yes. Yes, let's see
Wow,
if
that's
it
very
works.
professional. Our students will really enjoy it. Excellent. Thank you very much.
Okay, I stop sharing them for now.
Can you hear us in Trondheim?
Yeah?
Yes.
Yes, now we have better sound here. Volume.
Definitely. Definitely.
Oh, yeah. So, yeah, new microphones here. So,
Good.
and we are ready. Yes.
Yeah, because yesterday it was working perfectly, so good that we are now. I just make also a final check on our side because I'm pretty sure if yeah, so it's okay. Yeah. Okay. So Eva, whenever you're ready, tell us, and we can go for the second session.
Yes, we are ready now, and now I think the camera is moving. I'm zooming into the students there, so you can see us.
Yeah.
I'm here. Very nice to see you again. And now we have better sound volume, so that's good.
Okay. So, a short break, but now we have another dimension of the food policies and framework, if you want, because you have noticed yesterday we have had a lot of, as I told you, speakers from DG Sante, speakers from DG Growth, so the health side, the industry side, today the sea side, which is not going on the beach, but having the perspective from the Director General responsible for the fisheries policies and the marine policies in general. And we have now the pleasure to host a representative from the research side. So the Director General, which manages also the possibility to create research and innovation opportunities to implement the regulations and the policies that are designed by the Commission also from the other DG's perspective. So I'm very happy to welcome Magdalena Gajdzinska, if I pronounced it correctly. Magdalena, sorry if I destroyed your surname in case, from the Director General Research of the European Commission. and the unit is the unit Bioeconomy and Food Systems. Before you start, Magdalena, let me just briefly introduce you my colleague Eva Falk, which is the professor responsible for the master course on food policy. So maybe, Eva, you want to say some words?
Yes. Yeah, thank you for joining us. I'm muted, still muted. Can you hear me now?
We hear you.
Yeah. Yeah, okay. Thank you very much for joining us. As Massimo said, I'm Eva Falk, and we have had this course for some years now. So the students learn about food policies, and then they meet the industry actors later on and interact with them, and are prepared for what is coming in the future years. So this is very, very relevant, the topics you are also having today, and we appreciate that you are joining us. So thank you. Looking forward to hear your presentation.
So
Thank you, Eva.
Is yours.
Okay, let me do the technical stuff again. Share the screen. Okay, so first of all, thank you everybody, and thank you Massimo for inviting me. Thank you Eva for inviting me to your classroom today, even though virtually only, but I hope it will be of similar use. Excuse me, it's my first ever presentation to students, so I don't know if I'm not going to be too technical. In case it's too technical, let me know, okay? So as you can see at the bottom of the slide, I will be using Slido as well. So please feel free to check it out already. I will launch the Slido questionnaires later on during the presentation. So my name is Magdalena Gajdzinska. I'm a policy officer within the Directorate General of Research and Innovation of the European Commission, as was mentioned by Massimo, which is part of the Healthy Planet Directorate. So today I will talk about how R&I, so research and innovation, can facilitate the food sector and uptake of the microbiome-based solutions as well, which will be actually quite important for you maybe, or interesting for you for the meeting with the stakeholders as well, as I will be talking about the future of European research. And yeah, let's go to the second slide. Oh, it got stuck, okay. So straight away, if I can ask, no, not yet. So yeah, just to mention that yes, we will be using this slider with the hashtag classroom. So if you want to take the QR code right now, don't hesitate straight away on the from the screen. And what brings me to the topic of my presentation? I will briefly explain the EU Green Deal and EU Farm to Fork strategy, which I think yesterday you had covered quite broadly with all of the SAMTE colleagues. So I will make a small test on you as well on that. I will highlight the role of the R&I to deliver the ambition of food systems change and explain in brief how the European Commission DG RTD, so DG Research and Innovation, is supporting the research and innovation communities. So let me start with the explaining of the EU policy context in brief and going through the Farm to Fork strategy and European Green Deal. So first, by saying that the Farm to Fork strategy is a key element for the EU Green Deal, which you must have heard a lot yesterday already, as I mentioned. So Green Deal, it is the EU growth strategy to make the EU's economy sustainable top political priority. It aims at building a modern, resource-efficient economy and address the climate and environmental challenges. Sorry, make full use of the opportunities and opportunities the transition creates for competitiveness. Make the transition just and inclusive for all, as well as make Europe the first climate-neutral continent by 2050. From the start, it was very clear. To make the EU Green Deal a success, we need to address comprehensively the challenges of sustainable food systems. That is why the Farm to Fork strategy was launched in May 2020 as a key element of the EU Green Deal. You can find the strategy on the link below of the slide. The Farm to Fork strategy mentions 4 general goals, and these are to reduce the environmental and climate footprint of the EU food system, to strengthen its resilience and ensure food security, to lead a global transition towards competitive sustainability from farm to fork, and to tap into new opportunities. It presents sustainability as a growth strategy. This is what our citizens increasingly demand: nutritious food which is healthy and is produced in a way which is respectful towards our planet. Our food systems account for nearly 1/3 of global greenhouse gases emission and consume large amounts of natural resources. Therefore, we need to ensure that they are having neutral or positive environmental impact. They are mitigating climate change and adapt to its impacts, and as well that they are reversing the loss of biodiversity, ensuring food security, nutrition, and public health, making sure that everyone has access to sufficient, safe, nutritious, and sustainable food, as well as preserving affordability of food while generating fairer economic returns, fostering competitiveness of the EU supply sector and promoting fair trade. So right now, I would like to fill in a small survey with you that is available right now on the Slido. Okay, now it's available for you. You can scan the QR code or go through Slido and #classroom. And it will allow me to see what you have learned yesterday about Farm to Fork strategy. Wait, I think I have to learn something else now. Start the quiz, okay. So I would like to ask you, what are the, wait, maybe I have to show the slide then first. Yes, so I'm asking you that on the slide, on the Slido. The targets of the 2030 for sustainable food systems. First question is, by how much % we need to reduce the overall use of risk of chemical pesticides and reduce use of more hazardous pesticides? Let's go back to the answers. So what is the percentage of reduced by the overuse of risk of chemical pesticides? Oh, no, not this one. No. Oh, sorry. I don't have any answers yet. No, is that true? Don't start to Google it. I can see we have 14 participants. Okay, maybe I have to go to my technical side of it to see if you're voting. You are voting, but why I cannot show results? Okay. Okay, I can see results right now. So, okay, here you have voted 50%, which is correct. 75% of you, yes, it was correct. Then let's go to the next question. We have to reduce use by which % of more hazardous pesticides? We have two answers. 3. Well, you're getting to 50%, 60%, 40 as well. Okay. 8 people voted, 9 people voted. Okay. Let's see the results. So yes, majority of you knew the correct answer. Okay, so you got something from yesterday. Next question. We need to as well reduce the sales of antimicrobials for farmed animals and in aquaculture by how many %? Okay, we have 11 people voted. Let's see the correct answers. Again, 50% voted correct. And the last question. we have to achieve at least which amount of percent of the EU's agricultural land under organic farming and a significant increase in organic aquaculture. Oh, I think that requires a Google search then.
Yeah, it says voting closed on this one.
Okay.
Okay. Now it's possible.
Okay. We have 25%, and that was the clearest answer then. Everybody got it. Okay. Then I change back to the slides. Okay, so yes, as we have just voted, indeed, you were right in the answers. So the Farm to Fork strategy in European Green Deal is proposing quantitative targets for the 2030 as well. And these are, as you have very precisely corrected from yesterday, to reduce the use of chemical pesticides, to reduce it by 50%, the overuse and the risk of, and reduce the use by 50% of more hazardous pesticides. Sorry, it's like tongue breaking, tongue twister. Reduced as well nutrient losses by at least 50%, while ensuring no deterioration in soil fertility. This will reduce use of fertilizers by at least 20%, as well as reduce sales of antimicrobial for farmed animals and in aquaculture by 50% in order to reduce antimicrobial resistance, and as well to achieve at least 25% of the EU's agricultural land under organic farming and a significant increase in organic aquaculture. But there are as well other less quantitative targets that are very important, which is, for example, reversing the increase of obesity and overweight by 2030, halving per capita food waste at retail and consumer levels by 2030, promotion of health and sustainable food consumption, as well as promotion of sustainable packaging solutions, as I think some colleagues were already mentioning as well. It should be noted that none of these targets are legally binding, but they will play a role when evaluating EU policies and the implementation, for example, the Sustainable Use Directive for pesticides. Let's go further. So the objective of the Farm to Fork strategy call for transition of food systems to make them more sustainable, healthier, and climate resilient. They also provide business opportunities for all actors in the food system, ranging from primary producers all the way to food processors, retailers, food sector service operators, and consumers, and as well you citizens. The targets are very ambitious and cannot be achieved just overnight. We will have to work on many enablers, and I would like to point out that one of the enablers is the role of the research and innovation in driving a transition. And it means that research and innovation will have to step up to show to farmers, processors, and consumers how things can be done. R&I will have to build the evidence base as well and deploy cross-cutting solutions that work not from just one, but from different perspectives. So that's what we are mainly working on in my unit right now, about these 3 points: that to build the evidence base, to be cross-cutting, and to show the steps up for farmers, processors, consumers. Let's talk about a little bit more deeper into science right now. As you are definitely aware, the present EU food systems provide a high level of food security, food safety, and wide consumer choice. Its environmental, economic, and social sustainability are, though, very poor. Moreover, maintaining business as usual will endanger natural resources, our health, climate, economy. Therefore, a group of chief scientific advisors to the European Commission, which are 7 advisors, were tasked to provide an independent scientific advice to the European Commission to inform policymaking and recommendations to improve the interaction between policymaking and scientific advice as well. And they have investigated primarily into this topic that there is already an established large body of high quality scientific evidence and advice that both describes the challenges and recommended actions that can be taken to move to the EU sustainable food systems. The recommendations are different on type of the actions and approaches and scope, and they follow areas considered to be relevant, like promote sustainable intensification, scale up of agroecological approaches, reduce food loss and waste, stimulate responsible consumer choices, and to access towards healthier and sustainable diets, improve the resilience and robustness of food systems as well, and as well that they are scaling and action scales for citizens and leaders as well to follow and find more gaps in scientific advice. And the scientific opinion they have provided advice on how to achieve a sustainable food system. The advice is informed by scientific evidence review report and supporting systematic literature review by SAPEA, which is Science Advice for Policy by European Academies Consortium. This scientific opinion recommends making environmental, societal, and economic sustainability the central objective of all policies relevant to food, in which food is viewed more as a common good than commodity. And this scientific opinion, which I really suggest you to consult, which is the link at the bottom as well, or by the title. It calls the European Commission to be the engine that drives the change in the EU and beyond, taking an active, stepwise, and fully integrated approach, as well as addresses power and information asymmetries in food system and support a food environment that helps citizens to make sustainable choices. Let's go forward to the Food 2030, which is a concept that is referred to in the Farm to Fork strategy. The Food 2030 is a policy framework to future-proof our nutrition and food systems through research and innovation. It precedes the Farm to Fork strategy, and it has started in 2016, and it is feeding the research dimension to help develop the Farm to Fork strategy. Sorry. We have in the Food 2030, we have identified a number of priorities that Food 2030 is keen to tackle. And the first of this is nutrition for sustainable and healthy diets. That's everything that relates to keeping people healthy, from food safety. Food safety is also embedded in there. The second one relates to transforming food systems so they can become climate smart and environmentally sustainable throughout the whole system. By climate smart, we mean not just in terms of climate mitigation, but also in terms of climate adaptation. The third priority relates to circularity and resource efficiency through the whole food system. And the fourth is about innovation to empower communities, and by communities we mean cities, towns, and rural areas. To achieve these Food 2030 priorities, we need to apply system thinking through 4 drivers. The first is through research breakthroughs and bridging the transformation capacity of information and communication technologies, and also social sciences and humanities, especially with respect to consumer behavior and how we can nudge consumer behavior towards more healthy and sustainable choices. The second is about innovation and investments. All sorts of innovation are happening on the ground, and our role is to help those innovations to scale up and scale out. Thirdly, open science, open data, and fostering a multi-actor and public engagement approach. And lastly, international collaboration. Let me now move to my second part, that is crucial role of R&I funding and policies. So let's go to Slido again. And now I close this one. And I open this one. Did you ever hear of Horizon Europe? Do you know what is that? Okay. We have 100%, we have 6 people, 7. So everybody knows what Horizon Europe is. Okay, so I can leave the room right now. I don't need to present anything right now. So is anybody volunteering to give me a one-sentence explanation what is Horizon Europe then? Oh, there is one, nobody. Eva, would any of the students volunteer to give one sentence about Horizon Europe?
Yeah. Någon som vill?
One sentence is enough, in your words. It's perfectly fine. Okay, then let me go forward if nobody wants. So I'm not sure about the yes answer then. Huh? Okay, I will close it there. So to realize all of these ambitions I have mentioned you in the Farm to Fork strategy, in the EU Green Deal, in Food 2030, last year it was decided to add 1 billion euro to the last working program of Horizon 2020, which was the old funding program to fund RNI that supports the Green Deal. And this focused on funding innovative systemic solutions to demonstrate results in practice by 2030 and to reassure citizens that action is underway. So it happened during the COVID time. So yes, that 1 billion euro were pumped into Horizon 2020 to fund RNI to support the Green Deal. And the mentioned Horizon 2020 Green Deal call was closed on 27 January and granted over 250 proposals submitted to the Farm to Fork topic alone, which are now being evaluated. They are in the very last step of evaluation. And this should lead to 6 pilot demonstrations on dietary shift, climate neutrality, reduction of pesticides, nutrient losses, food waste and antibiotic use for an overall EU contribution of 74 million euros. So just the Farm to Fork topics alone, 74 million euros. And you, the young, the future researchers, might ask what further developments in the RNI funding and RNI policy might we expect. Let me go forward to the Horizon Europe, a successor of Horizon 2020. So Horizon Europe is the EU key funding program for research and innovation with a budget of 95.5 billion euros. It tackles climate change, helps to achieve the UN Sustainable Development Goals, and boosts the EU competitiveness and growth. One of the new elements in Horizon Europe that I would like to mention today at the later stage are missions and partnerships. And in the slide in the middle, you can see exactly in the middle, under the cluster, under the pillar 2, you can see food, bioeconomy, natural resources, agriculture, and environment. This we will go forward in the next slide. So part of the Horizon Europe is food as well. From the lessons learned from Horizon 2020 evaluation, there was some indication for new key elements that will be present in Horizon Europe. And I would like to mention later today these new novelties, which are missions and partnerships. As showed in the previous slide, in the middle of the slide, there was a cluster of food, bioeconomy, natural resources, and environment. And this cluster is very complicated. There are so many, like, there is intervention, cluster, etc. So in this cluster, we have 7 intervention areas, one of which is food. And please have a look at the top right as well, of the top right corner. I hope you recognize there the Food 2030 priorities. So the Food 2030 priorities are very connected to the food systems cluster, to the cluster 6 food systems topics. And that's my favorite slide, actually. I will post something straight away in your chat. I cannot, okay, because I'm presenting. So that's my favorite slide, showing all of the interactions between EU policies and Food 2030 and the Horizon Europe. So On the left-hand side of the slide, you can see pathways for action, Food 2030 pathways for action described in the document. You can find it in this link as well, or just Google Food 2030 pathways for action. It's an amazing document. This is very long though, but there are some small fact sheets as well about every single part of it. And these pathways for action will guide you through future call developments that you can see represented on this tree in dark green. So the dark green is covering all of the parts of actually the work of my unit as well. Yes, all of the work in my unit. So dark green is the future call developments, and part of it is as well microbiome, which I'm directly working on, and I will show you the video later on as well about what work on microbiome we are doing. The outer layer lists relevant part of the Horizon Europe. The inner layer is the Food 2030 priorities that you already know and we have discussed before. The entire tree is driven by the EU policies as nutrients, and the sun is the EU Green Deal that is allowing all of the photosynthesis to happen. So the pathway for action represent key levels of change where research and innovation can have a deep and multiple impact in realizing the food system vision. Each pathway sets out the systemic challenges, the expected co-benefits, barriers to and enablers of change, and as well highlights potential research and innovation areas meriting further consideration and investment. As mentioned, there is different fact sheets as well. The left-hand side, you can see one of them is Food 2030 Pathway for Action on Microbiome World. And it shows the challenges, co-benefits, barriers, and enablers of change, as mentioned in the previous slide. And they are very descriptive in this pathway and as well mentioned in the pathway for action. So the publication points out as well the research and innovation needs, dividing them into two subgroups, the technical and non-technical interventions. With a significant hurdles to microbiome innovation, for example, like lack of global coherency, weak translation science, skills and education, citizen science. The harmonization of all of the regulatory framework will provide the right tool for innovation as well. So enablers of change that are described in the pathways as well, they are bridging the gap between today's potential and the moment at which concrete applications start generating societal impacts. At critical scale, efforts offering visible progress on topics of public interest and as well and for the stakeholders. So if you actually consult these pathways, you consult the fact sheets as they are more concrete, they are more essence, it will really be a source of information for you of where the EU policy will go forward, and that might be as well a good point of the good anchor for discussion with the stakeholders that you have the next classes, like the next week or this week. I don't know when it's happening. So please consult, especially if you have some specific stakeholders from some groups. As you can see in this dark green here, these are the fact sheets. So if you have meetings with any stakeholders from this kind of sectors, please don't hesitate to consult them so that you can see these enablers as well and the gaps listed in there. So let's go forward. I wanted to show you a video of microbiome.
Did you know that there are far more microorganisms on our planet?
I want to check if I share my sound. Yes, I'm sharing my sound. Okay.
Than stars in the you know that there are far more microorganisms on our planet than stars in the universe, and that there are enough microorganisms in our body to go around the Earth 5 times. Bacteria, viruses, fungi. These microscopic life forms live in, on, and all around us in communities called microbiomes. Without them, we would not exist, and neither would plants nor animals. Only 1% of microbiomes have been studied so far. The European Union is investing in research and innovation to uncover the potential of the remaining 99%. This new knowledge could be the start of a new scientific revolution that would make our food systems more sustainable, healthy, and inclusive. Now, how can the microbiome affect our life? The microbiome could help us fight all sorts of diseases, from nutritional disorders such as obesity to non-communicable diseases like diabetes or cancer. The microbiome is not only important for healthy humans, but also for a healthy planet. Farmers could improve the soil quality, use less fertilizers and pesticides, and raise healthier livestock. This would improve biodiversity and reduce the release of harmful gases to the atmosphere, making agriculture more sustainable. All microorganisms living in our seas and oceans produce half of the oxygen in the atmosphere. We could use their power to capture carbon from the atmosphere, therefore fighting climate change. With microbiome research, we could make our food tastier, safer, and more nutritious. We could even find new ways to reduce, reuse, and transform waste into valuable products, such as fertilizer, feed, or energy. These are only a few examples into the boundless potential of microbiome research. By supporting ambitious projects, the EU is seizing the opportunity to become a leader in this vast new area of research for healthy people and a healthy planet.
Okay, thank you so much for listening to the video. It's exactly what I'm doing right now. I'm dealing with microbiome and creating the future calls as well for the Horizon Europe. So I have to read a lot of research. I have to liaise with plenty of researchers to find where are still the gaps to address, and there are plenty. So let's go forward. Some slides ago, I wanted to mention you that I would provide you some more information about the emissions. So Horizon Europe will incorporate research innovation missions to increase the effectiveness of funding by pursuing clearly defined targets. So the Commission has engaged policy experts to develop quite some studies, case studies and reports on how mission-oriented policy approach will work. So 5 mission areas have been identified, and each with a dedicated mission board and assembly. And the board and assembly help specify, design, and implement the specific missions, which will launch under Horizon Europe soon. So Horizon Europe will incorporate these 5 missions. They have been identified, each with a dedicated mission board, as mentioned, and the 5 missions are adaptation on climate change, including societal transformation, healthy oceans, sea, coastal and inland waters, cancer, soil health and food, and climate neutral and smart cities. Let's now have a brief look at the development process as well of the Horizon Europe mission. So I would like to briefly highlight the soil mission. That might be of your interest, and as well it's the closest to me because it's connected with microbiome, like microbiome in soil. So please don't hesitate as well to consult the website provided on the slide. So the final recommendations of the mission boards were handed over to the Commission at the Research and Innovation Days in September last year. And the proposed mission, Caring for Soil is Caring for Life, which we call Soil Mission, but the official name is Caring for Soil is Caring for Life, targets by 2030 is to at least 75% of all soils in the EU are healthy for food, people, nature, and climate. So we have a new target, 75% of soils are healthy. The proposed mission combines research, innovation, education and training, investments, and also demonstration of good practices using so-called living labs, so experiments and innovation in the laboratory, on the ground, and lighthouses, which is like places to showcase good practices. Let's talk very briefly about partnerships. They will be a new generation of objective-driven and more ambitious partnerships in support of the agreed EU policy objectives. And we will have 3 types of partnerships: the co-programmed European partnerships, that they are between the Commission and private or public partners. They are based on memorandum of understanding and contractual arrangements, as well as co-funded European partnership using a program co-fund action, involving EU countries with research funders and other public authorities at the core of the consortium. and as well institutionalized European partnerships, and they are where the EU participates in research and innovation funding programs that are undertaken by the EU countries. In here, you can see the overview of 49 candidate European partnerships. There is plenty of them in each cluster. You remember the slide of the All Horizon Europe, the middle part I showed you. This is the cluster 6 in here, again mentioned as safe and sustainable food systems. So just brief look at that. I will not go into details. I think I cannot finish my presentation without providing you some information as well about open science, which is a rule across all of the program. What is important about open science is that it's mainstreaming open science practices for improved quality and efficiency of research and innovation, and as well active engagement of society. So the rules of the open science are to mandatory immediate open access to publications. Beneficiaries must retain sufficient IPRs to comply with open access requirements, as well as data sharing as open as possible, as closed as necessary. Now I will have a small check of knowledge of what I have presented. Okay, first let's, oh, it's not charging. Ah, no, because I have to put the different here. Okay, yes. How much budget does the Horizon Europe have? Okay, indeed, everybody got that answer very good, proper listeners. Next one, which cluster of Horizon Europe covers food? I was trying to point that out a couple of times. Okay, we have 2 answers, 5 answers. You are great listeners, guys. I mean, I was not such a good student as you are, I think. Next one. What are the 5 missions of Horizon Europe? I went through it very fast. I don't think we can see all of the answers though. Okay. You can choose multiple answers in here. Five answers. I think we lost some of the participants. Huh? We were 14 before. Now it's only 5 people active. Huh? Okay, we have 7 answers. And yes, indeed, you are correct. Soil health and food, which we call soil mission, healthy oceans, seas, coastal and inland waters, cancer, climate neutral and smart cities, and adaptation to climate change, including societal transformation. Microbiome world was part of the pathways that I was mentioning, and sustainable development goals, I just made it up as everything is connected to UN SDGs, so sustainable development goals. Anyways, okay, next one. What is the target of soil mission? No, why it's showing the results? Yes, indeed, that 75% of soils in the EU are supposed to be healthy for food, people, nature, and climate. That's indeed the target of the soil mission. Now, it's an open question. I would like you to brainstorm with me, as you didn't want to answer by speaking, what is the Horizon Europe? Then I will ask you, what is the goal of the open science? in one sentence, 2 words, as you prefer. Exactly, science accessible for all, indeed. Yes, indeed. Everybody is supposed to have the access to the science. Improved quality and efficiency of RNI, indeed. Let's wait for one more, as we are running short in time. Sharing of data. Okay, perfect. As open as possible, as closed as need. Okay, perfect. You're very good listeners. So, do you think you come out of today's presentation with more knowledge on Horizon Europe and research and innovation? Or I was not specific enough? Perfect, 7 people. Oh, la, that's a very, very straightforward answer. Okay, thanks so much. I think that was my last slide. Yes, thank you. I will stop sharing then, and I will give the floor back to Eva or Massimo.
Yes. Eva.
Thank you very much. You gave a very good overview of the research and innovation, and also with all this student active learning. This was fun, and I think it shows that the students have learned a lot. So very, very good. Have you been a professor? Working as do you have time for a couple of questions for from students?
Yes, please go ahead.
Yes. I think the sound is better now, is it? It's no echo, it's and you can hear well. Okay, we try.
So my question is related to the goal of having 75% of all soils to be healthy. So I'm wondering, what is the definition of a healthy soil?
Thanks so much. So that's actually not my, I'm not the one drafting the soil mission, though I think there will be a very precise, how do you say it, explanation of what healthy soil will be. So it will be really specified in the soil mission as well. So once it is available online, I believe we can then make it, you can consult it. So yeah, thanks. There is a second question in the chat. How can we secure that important nutrients such as phosphorus are recycled and not released into environment? Ooh la la, that's I think not a question for me. It must have been maybe more for the Sante colleagues, though. How can we secure that important nutrients such as phosphorus are recycled and not released into the environment? I mean, for sure there is some research done into that topic already. So there might have been some projects under Horizon 2020 or previous projects as well funded already. I'm not sure about that though, because as everybody is working with something else though. If you go to a website of all of the Horizon 2020 projects, and you can put, for example, phosphorus or recycling of phosphorus in the search bar, definitely there will be something already done about that was funded for that path. If not, that's a good gap that could be indicated to our colleagues to possibly fund future projects dealing with that. So, but I believe there must have been already some at least basic research on that, if not fully detailed research. So. Yeah, I will put in the chat then the link that you can consult to search it, okay? What is the Commission opinion on meat substitutes or cultured meat? That's actually about opinion. I think that you should have consulted Sante colleagues about that, because we in research and innovation, we think a lot about, we are opening the gates to say that. So whatever crazy idea we have about lab-grown meat, we try to work on that. Yes, so we are more like opening our mind and really like thinking, oh, I want to have lab-grown meat in the space, for instance. Yes, like I'm exaggerating a bit right now, but yes, if you have these ideas, that's the DG you should work in. But the opinion about meat substitutes or cultured meat, I think that's more the question for Sante colleagues. I'm sorry for that. So the microbiome video explained that the EU supports innovative projects in the microbiome area. Do you have any example of specific research projects that are funded? Yes, there is plenty of microbiome area research projects as well. You can consult all of them on the website. I will in a second search for you, as well as there is a website, there is a consortium called Microbiome Support that is actually it's supporting the microbiome research in the European level. It's it's a platform that is coordinating everything, and it's as well responsible for the public visibility. So, for example, every year in June there is a microbiome world that they are facilitating. So the video was created, for instance, for the microbiome world as well. The video I've already put in the chat, and yeah, they have their website is amazing with all of the research from various aspects. They made as well the analysis of the mapping analysis of how microbiome research looks in different countries in the EU, and they are publishing quite a lot of publications as well. So that's very worth to consult. I will put it straight away in the chat. So please feel free to consult this website. There is everything about microbiome there that you can imagine. So there's a lot of publications and the events as well. And yeah.
Yes. Thank you very much. I cannot see any more questions here now. So, and you covered so much. So thank you very much again. And then we hope to see you again later.
Thank you so much.
And then I think we take a break from here.
Thank you, Eva. Thank you, everybody. I've posted everything in the chat. So yeah, the search machine, the search engine to search anything for Horizon Europe, Horizon 2020 projects, and the microbiome support. So thanks so much, and enjoy the rest of the lectures.
Thank you very much, Magdalena, also from my side, and for your kind participation, and really appreciated, and also the effort you put in making the presentation so dynamic, if I may say. So you gave, in my opinion, an additional flavor to it, making it original compared to the other speakers. So thank you a lot for the effort you put also in setting the slide, which I think were a nice novelty in the way students have received the input in this digital classroom. So thank you very much from my side.
Thanks so much. Bye-bye.
Have a nice day. Bye. Okay. So, Eva.
Yes.
We are going to reconvene at 1:30 p.m.
Yes.
Yeah. And if you like to join the 1 hour with Europe, you should have received the link from Media and Martinez, so feel free to be with us later on. I hope the students are satisfied.
Yes.
Yeah. Is okay, everything is fine from your side. I see people nodding, so that's very good. Excellent. Good. So we let you, yes?
Can you also share the link for Angela Miller?
Yeah, they.
So if they want, they can also join.
Yeah, they have the link in the agenda, no? Yeah, I told them before. So again, if you want to join the next session on the 1 hour with Europe, feel free. It will be quite large gathering, but can be interesting because you notice that Magdalena also mentioned the strategic partnerships, and the strategic partnerships in some cases are also linked to the industrial roadmaps. So there is an interlinked system here in Europe. I don't want to bother you too much on this because you are already getting a lot of inputs, but that's part of the game. So if you want, it can be interesting for you to have a look to the other side of the framework. Given that, Eva, if you need anything, of course, we are here. Otherwise, we connect again at 1:15, maybe for the technical check and so on.
Yes.
We are still struggling a bit in hearing you from the microphone. You are there. I don't know why, but your sound goes up and down, like there is some electronic noise on it. I don't know what is the issue here.
Yeah.
But apparently also our guests were having troubles in understanding you fully. So, and we tested, we were capable to hear Magdalena perfectly and so on. So it appears to be a broadcasting problem from your side. I don't know if you can maybe take one of these external microphones that you can use on the tables instead of using the microphone of the computer.
Yeah, I thought I was using the one on the table, but I will check that. So maybe we meet a little bit before 13:30. So a few minutes before the test, and I will check that. Yeah, but can you hear me now?
Excellent. Okay.
Yeah.
So we end the session for now, and we reconvene at 1:15. 15 minutes in advance to connect and set up the system again. Okay?
Yes.
Very good.
Yeah.
Very good. Thank you very much.